The Tale of Benjamin Bunny. This is part 2. Last week we started the story and we learned about Peter Rabbit's cousin. And Peter Rabbit's cousin, Benjamin Bunny, is planning to help Peter Rabbit find the clothes that he lost in the first story. And so what we can do to start is we can try practicing reading what we read before, and then we can get to new stuff and take our time and try reading it together and learn some new vocab words, go over what they're saying and what the story is talking about. Okay? So let's start by reading over the story. The Tale of Benjamin Bunny by Beatrix Potter, author of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Blah, 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 blah. And then, oh, there's Peter Rabbit's mother. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. He pricked his ears and listened to the trit-trot of a pony. A gig was coming along the road. It was driven by Mr. McGregor. And beside him sat Mrs. McGregor in her best bonnet. As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slid down into the road and set off, with a hop, skip, and a jump, to call upon his relations, who lived in the wood at the back of Mr. McGregor's garden. That wood was full of rabbit holes, and in the neatest, sandiest hole of all lived Benjamin's aunt and his cousins, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. Old Mrs. Rabbit was a widow. She earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffetees. I once bought a pair at a bazaar. She also sold herbs and rosemary tea and rabbit tobacco, which is what we call lavender, a purple flower. Little Benjamin did not very much want to see his aunt. He came round the back of the fir tree and nearly tumbled upon the top of his cousin Peter. Or almost. Peter was sitting by himself. He looked poorly and was dressed in a red cotton pocket handkerchief. Achoo! Peter, said little Benjamin in a whisper, who has got your clothes? Peter replied, the scarecrow in Mr. McGregor's garden, and described how he had been chased about the garden and had dropped his shoes and coat. Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin and assured him that Mr. McGregor had gone out in a gig, and Mrs. McGregor also, and certainly for the day, because she was wearing her best bonnet. Oh, so beautiful. Peter said he had hoped that it would rain. At this point, old Mrs. Rabbit's voice was heard inside the rabbit hole calling, Cottontail, Cottontail, fetch some more chamomile. Peter said he thought he might feel better if he went for a walk. So, Peter did not feel like going out with his cousin Benjamin. He felt nervous, maybe scared of going to Mr. McGregor's garden. But his mother says, fetch some chamomile. So fetch means get. Get some chamomile. And chamomile is a flower that people use to make tea, and that tea helps you sleep. So maybe the mother says it's bedtime for Peter, or nap time for Peter. But Peter doesn't want to go take a nap, so he says, okay, we can go on our little adventure. So from here, we can start a little bit more of our story, okay? So Peter and his cousin Benjamin go to Mr. McGregor's garden. So starting from here, give me yellow, starting here. They went away hand in hand and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. From here, they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the scarecrow, topped with an old tam-o'-shanter of Mr. McGregor's. Okay, most of this not too hard, I hope, but let's talk about it piece by piece. They went away hand in hand. Now, that's just what it sounds like. They're hand in hand, meaning they are holding hands together, and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. Remember, the wood is like a small forest, right? From here, they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen. So, plainly to be seen is an old way to say easily seen, or easy to be seen. So you don't have to look for it. You don't need to search. It's right there in front of you. It's maybe modern, we would just say plain to be seen. You might hear that sometimes, but it means the same thing as it's easily seen. You don't need to search for it. It's right there. So, Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the scarecrow. A scarecrow is this shape that looks like a person trying to scare away crows so they don't eat the vegetables. And it was topped with an old tam-o'-shanter of Mr. McGregor's. So topped with means something is put on top. Okay? And this is a tricky word. This is something that is not a word that I've seen outside of this story. A tam-o'-shanter is a old kind of hat. I think it's from Scotland. So an old kind of hat, and we'll see, well, we'll see a picture of it later, but we can Google it. Oops, sorry, punch the microphone. Tam-o'-shanter is this kind of hat right here. It's a soft hat, kind of like a hat you would see in Scotland. Okay? So you can imagine Mr. McGregor, maybe he looked a little bit like this. Okay. So they see his coat and shoes and the hat, the tam-o'-shanter. One second. Next up, little Benjamin said, "It spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. The proper way to get in is to climb down a pear tree." Oh, did I miss anything? No. So they're on the top of the wall, and I'll read it again. Little Benjamin said, "It spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. The proper way is to get in is to climb down a pear tree." Peter fell down head first. But it was of no consequence, as the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. It had been sown with lettuces. So, here the word spoils is like ruins or makes bad. So to ruin something means to make it really bad. Sometimes in American English, we use the word spoil to mean make something bad. Like if you eat too many snacks, you will spoil your dinner. So you won't be hungry, so dinner is ruined. Or if you put a banana on the table for 3 days, it might spoil. Maybe it goes bad. In America, we wouldn't say a sentence like this, spoil someone's clothes. We might say ruin someone's clothes or destroy their clothes. But Benjamin says, it spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. So in the first story, there was a little gate and Peter squeezed under it. And that kind of made his clothes dirty. And so Benjamin says, we shouldn't do that. That's the bad idea. It will ruin our clothes. Then he says, the proper way to get in is to climb down a pear tree. A pear is a fruit that is like an apple, but it's fat on the bottom. That's a pear. So the two rabbits will climb down a tree. But Peter fell down head first. So his head was going down. Boom. But it was of no consequence. No consequence means no problem. No problem. And so this phrase is a little bit old-fashioned. It was of no consequence. But in modern English, it was of no consequence. It's kind of like it was all right. Or everything was okay, is what I would say now. Can you see that? Let's see. Everything was okay. It was of no consequence is an old-fashioned way to say, it was all right. No problem. He was fine. Everything was okay. Why? Peter fell down on his head. That sounds really bad, right? But the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. So the bed doesn't mean the bed that you sleep on. A bed could be anything that's flat and soft. And here it's a bed of vegetables. So the vegetables are flat and soft. So when Peter falls down, it's okay. So the bed below was newly raked. A rake is a tool that's like a straight line with lots of pieces coming off. And you use it to clean leaves or that's a really beautiful picture, right? But you use that to like sweep things. And so the bed below was raked and quite soft. You can see that the lettuce, the plants here were pushed down by a tool. And so it was okay. It had been sown with lettuces. Sown means like planted. So Mr. McGregor had planted lettuce in that spot. So Peter just fell on some lettuce and he was fine. Okay? Next up. They left a great many odd little footmarks all over the bed, especially little Benjamin, who was wearing clogs. So, they left a great many odd little footmarks. So, a great many means a lot of. They left a lot of odd little footmarks. Let me fix this, make it easier to see what's what. They left a great many, which is an old-fashioned way to say a lot of, odd little footmarks. Now, you might know the word odd, and odd can mean strange. But here it doesn't mean strange. Their feet aren't strange. Here it means random. So a different way to use the word odd would be random. Like they're all mixed about. They're not in one straight line. They're just many, many foot marks everywhere. And I keep using the word foot mark. It's kind of easy to guess what a foot mark is. It's the mark left by your foot, like this, under their feet. Another way to say this that I would probably say is footprint. So they left a lot of random footprints all over the bed. You can see in the picture, many, many little footprints. Especially little Benjamin, who was wearing clogs. He's wearing clogs. So you can see his feet. What is he wearing? Clogs are wooden shoes. Usually wooden shoes. You can imagine in Europe, some people might wear clogs. Like, clogs look like okay, those are not wood, but when I hear clogs, I think of these wooden shoes like this. Kind of fun. Okay? So he's wearing these big shoes, and so he's leaving more footprints, more foot marks. Okay. Oh, there's that hat we talked about, the tam o' shanter. Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes, in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night. There was water in the shoes, and the coat was somewhat shrunk. Benjamin tried on the tam o' shanter, but it was too big for him. So, little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes. The first thing to be done. I might say the first thing to do. It's really the same, but for me, I think the first thing to do sounds a little more natural. Benjamin said that the first thing to do was to get back Peter's clothes. Both are okay. In order that is just another way to say so. The first thing to do is get back Peter's clothes so they blah, blah, blah. So they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. Let's see. So they want the pocket handkerchief is what Peter was wearing before, and they can use it later. We'll maybe talk about that later. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night. There was water in the shoes, and the coat was somewhat shrunk. Shrunk is the past tense of to shrink. To shrink means become smaller. Anytime something gets smaller, you can say it shrunk. So if you wash a shirt, maybe it will shrink if you use cold water or something, or hot water. Or if you put it in the dryer, it might shrink. So you have to be careful when you wash your clothes. And then Benjamin tried on the tam o' shanter, but it was too big for him. The tam o' shanter is that big, floppy kind of Scottish hat that we talked about before. Okay? Keep going. Then he suggested that they should fill the pocket handkerchief with onions as a little present for his aunt. Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. So, this is why he wants to use the pocket handkerchief. He wants to fill it with onions, and give it to the aunt. Maybe the aunt will be happy. The aunt being Peter's mother. But Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. So how does Peter feel? Peter is very nervous, right? Or Peter is worried. Why is he worried? Well, the last time he was in this garden, Mr. McGregor chased him and tried to kill him, right? So he was really scared. So Peter is very nervous because he keeps hearing sounds. Is that Mr. McGregor? Is he back? Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home and ate a lettuce leaf. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father to get lettuces for their Sunday dinner. The name of little Benjamin's papa was Old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. The lettuces certainly were very fine. So, Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home. Now, think about it. We just said Peter was very nervous. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home. So, how do you think Benjamin feels? He feels very comfortable and very relaxed, right? So, Benjamin, on the contrary, this is the same as on the other hand. Benjamin, on the other hand, so on the contrary is more formal, maybe a little bit old-fashioned. On the other hand is to show something different. Peter is nervous. Benjamin, on the other hand, feels comfortable. Okay? And the story doesn't say he's comfortable. The story says he's perfectly at home. So if someone feels at home, well, home is comfortable, so that means they feel comfortable and safe. And Benjamin was perfectly at home. He's not worried about anything. And he ate a lettuce leaf. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father to get lettuces for their Sunday dinner. He's in the habit of something, meaning he's used to it. He does it a lot. He has that habit. He's used to doing it. They do it all the time. And they come get lettuce for dinner. Okay? Last thing. The lettuces certainly were very fine. Well, he's eating the lettuce. What does he think about the lettuce? Here, the word fine just means good. The lettuces were really good. I'll move this. And for perfectly home, comfortable. Okay? So yeah, the lettuce is delicious. Benjamin comes all the time to get lettuce, and he feels comfortable. He feels great. He's not nervous at all. Okay. So Benjamin is eating the lettuce. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Presently, he dropped half the onions. So Peter still doesn't feel good. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Now, this is maybe old-fashioned, or maybe it's British English, but in American English, we would say would. We wouldn't use should here. I would say he said he would like to go home. So he wants to go home. Then presently, he dropped half the onions. We said in earlier stories, presently is an old-fashioned way to say at that time, or right then. So, I want to go home. Dun, dun, dun. So right away, he dropped half of the onions because he's nervous. And then Little Benjamin said that it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. They went along a little walk on planks under a sunny red brick wall. The mice sat on their doorsteps, cracking cherry stones. They winked at Peter Rabbit and Little Benjamin Bunny. Oh, sorry, got distracted by a little bug. So, Little Benjamin Bunny said that it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables. So they climbed down the pear tree, and Peter fell down the pear tree. Benjamin says they cannot climb back up. They can't go up the pear tree. Why? They cannot go with a load of vegetables. A load means a thing you're carrying, a bunch. Or like a bundle, kind of. A bundle. Oh my gosh. Can't type today. I think I say that every time. So with a load of something means like you have a big bunch of it, a lot of stuff that you're trying to carry with you. Okay? And so Benjamin, he led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. Boldly is like bravely. Why are we saying he's very brave? Well, Peter is very nervous because he knows Mr. McGregor might come. But Benjamin doesn't care. He's like, oh, it's fine, let's go. And he walks across the garden, and he's not scared. And it's very bold, very brave. They went along a little walk on planks. Planks are thin pieces of wood, like what you can see in this picture. These are pieces of wood on the ground, and they walk on top of them. So they went along a walk on planks under a sunny red brick wall. And on the side, I think that's red. So there's a brick wall that they walk next to. The mice sat on their doorsteps, cracking cherry stones. So a doorstep means like the entrance to your house. Or entrance to your home. So they're right outside their home. And they're cracking cherry stones. And a cherry stone is a seed from a cherry. A cherry seed. We call them cherry stones because if you bite one, it's like biting a stone. It will hurt your teeth. So a cherry stone is the same as a cherry seed. And they winked at Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny. So just the mice are being cute. To wink is close one eye. Maybe they think Peter Rabbit and Benjamin are being a little bit crazy, walking out in the open, so they wink at them. Wink is one eye. Blink is two eyes. So you can wink at your friend, but if you're confused, you might blink. So you wink when you're happy, blink when you're confused. Okay. Let's see. Maybe a little bit more. So they're walking across the garden. Presently, Peter let the pocket handkerchief go again. Oops, so he let go. Boom. So he dropped some of the onions. They got amongst flower pots and frames and tubs. Peter heard noises worse than ever. His eyes were as big as lollipops. So what just happened? Peter let the pocket handkerchief go. He dropped it. And so the onions fell down. Dong, 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 dong. They got amongst flower pots and frames and tubs. Flower pots are like pots or kind of like bowls for flowers. Frames means like a kind of like a picture frame. It's a square of wood. And tubs, a tub is like a bucket. Okay? And when the onions fell on all of these wooden things, dong, 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 Peter heard noises worse than ever. So Peter heard really bad sounds, and they were louder and worse than before, worse than ever. His eyes were as big as lollipops. Now, why would his eyes be as big as a lollipop? So, lollipop looks like that. Lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, lolly, lolly. So a lollipop, his eyes were as big as lollipops because he's terrified. Terrified. Very scared. Peter is super scared, so his eyes are huge. Okay. He was a step or two in front of his cousin when he suddenly stopped. He dropped this stuff, dum, 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 and he stops. Dun, dun, dun. This is what those little rabbits sound... Sorry, one more time. This is what those little rabbits saw round that corner. Little Benjamin took one look, and then, in half a minute less than no time, he hid himself and Peter and the onions underneath a huge basket. So what did they see round that corner? So they walk around and they see a cat. Uh-oh, big trouble. Little Benjamin took one look. So we say one look, just meaning really quickly he saw the cat. In half a minute less than no time. So half a minute less than no time. Well, no time is no time. It's really, really fast. What is less than no time? Well, if no time is very fast, less than no time must be super, super, super fast, right? So it's not a real thing, but half a minute less than no time is one way to say super, super fast. It's kind of it's not something I would say now. You could say less than no time, or in a second, or in half a second, I might say. Or in an instant, in half a second. Something, you could say some super short time to say really, really quickly. So Benjamin saw the cat, and then really fast, he hid himself in Peter and the onions underneath a large basket. Dunk. They go under a basket, like let's say a wicker basket. Might look like this. So I use the word wicker just so we get the kind of basket we want. Wicker is this kind of material using like a kind of like very thin sticks to make a basket like this. So you can imagine the basket goes upside down and the two rabbits are hidden underneath. Okay. Now, I think we can stop here for today. We'll pause right there. Next time, they're under the basket like this. And the cat knows something is wrong. Something is under that basket, so the cat is coming to find them. So we'll have to see, will Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny be okay? Will they get out of the garden? Or will Mr. McGregor turn them into a pie? Oh my God, I hope not. So let's go back to the start of what we read, and we can read it one more time, and then we can stop for today. Okay? So Back where we were, Peter and Benjamin left Peter's home and they start going to the farm. Okay? So let's read what we read today and practice one more time. They went away hand in hand and got upon the flat top of the wall at the bottom of the wood. From here, they looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's coat and shoes were plainly to be seen upon the scarecrow, topped with an old tam-o'-shanter of Mr. McGregor's. Little Benjamin said, "It spoils people's clothes to squeeze under a gate. The proper way is to get in, is to climb down a pear tree." Peter fell down head first. Boom! But it was of no consequence, as the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. It had been sown with lettuces. They left a great many odd little footmarks all over the bed, especially little Benjamin, who was wearing clogs. Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes, in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. They took them off the scarecrow. There had been rain during the night, there was water in the shoes, and the coat was somewhat shrunk. Benjamin tried on the tam-o'-shanter, but it was too big for him. Then he suggested that they should fill the pocket handkerchief with onions as a little present for his aunt. Peter did not seem to be enjoying himself. He kept hearing noises. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home and ate a lettuce leaf. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father to get lettuces for their Sunday dinner. The name of little Benjamin's papa was old Mr. Benjamin Bunny. The lettuces certainly were very fine. Peter did not eat anything. He said he should like to go home. Presently, he dropped half the onions. Boom, boom, boom. Little Benjamin said that it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. They went along a little walk on planks under a sunny red brick wall. The mice sat on their doorsteps cracking cherry stones. They winked at Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin Bunny. Presently, Peter let the pocket handkerchief go again. Boom, 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 boom. They got amongst flower pots, in frames, in tubs. Peter heard noises worse than ever. His eyes were as big as lollipops. He was a step or two in front of his cousin when he suddenly stopped. This is what those little rabbits saw round that corner. Little Benjamin took one look, and then, in half a minute less than no time, he hid himself and Peter and the onions underneath a large basket. Dun, dun, dun. So, Peter and Benjamin are hidden under the basket. The cat might come to find them. Will they be okay? Will they get caught? Will the farmer, Mr. McGregor, come back and catch them too? We'll have to find out next time when we see part 3 of the tale of Benjamin Bunny. So, thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you had a good time. I hope you're enjoying our story so far. I think it's really cute, not too hard, not too easy, some tricky words, but nothing too difficult, right? I hope so. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll stop here and I'll see you next time for part 3. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.